Well, all right then. That's how that's the way that goes. That is the thing that is that. Well, amazing. Amazing! I'm not even lying about that. This was amazing. This is by far the best Five Nights at Freddy's fan game ever made.
My gosh, man, my gosh. The frustration this last level provided me was absolutely insane. But we managed to come out on top, and that is the main thing. And damn, this has been such an enjoyable experience.
Wait, so I don't understand. Did he take our family? Because they know that's not Scott. So that was actually, I will say it was definitely the most memorable fan game out of any of them.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right.
Because there's a lot of weird storylines here. Because you have... It seems like Scott's been trapped in the attic the whole time.
Yeah.
Michael went down...
Okay, well that was the Joy of Creation story mode. With that said, I didn't really enjoy the game that much. I'm not really a fan of grinding out difficult levels in this game style. And that's basically all this game was. Even from the get-go, like I had a tough time with bedroom, tough time with living room, office and basement were okay, attic was pretty hard. They were all kind of like the Night 5 difficulty level of other FNAF games.
Yep, I'm doing a review on this beast, this colossal monster of a fan game. Not only is it the most well-known FNAF fan game on the internet, but it is one of the most followed fan games on GameJolt. And it is also the reason why fan game devs have started following a trend that's usually either make it 3D or make the graphics shiny or pretty, leaving the gameplay to be the last thing to work on. Which is a shame to see most fan games do this type of behavior. But what do I personally think of this game? Simple. I don't like it. But it's more than just that. I believe that T-Jock is one of the worst designed fan games. Now, let me explain in this review why I think this is one of the worst designed fan games I have ever played, and with that, I'll give my general opinions, what I thought could have been better, and why I think this fan game is a bad example of how to make your fan games. But wait, I hear you say.
You can't just give 5 criticism to my favorite fan game in the whole world. If you give this fan game a negative review, you're just a hater. I know the dev. He's really cool and awesome and a very nice person.
Cool. I don't care. I'm here to review a fan game, not be friends with him. I don't work like that. Alright? Cool. Let's move on. Development for this fan game started all the way back on November 2015, after 2 of his other fan games got cancelled, which were Those Nights at Fredbear's and Unreal Ship at Freddy's. T-Jock, when it was first developed, wasn't the same one that everyone knew or remembered. The first version of T-Jock was a simple 1-4 FNAF gameplay style, which was an interesting and simple move to make due to both of his other cancelled fan games being based on the free roam idea. So it was a nice change and feel to it. After that, a second version was released that was the free roam T-Jock is known for. This version had a very slenderish style of gameplay to it, which featured you running around a house collecting 5 various items in a short amount of time while Freddy chased you. Very simple gameplay. This was the version that really skyrocketed the game into popularity. After several updates, the game added the rest of the main cast characters, Bonnie, Foxy, and Jigger, and they all play the same, just in different environments with some slight tweaks to their behavior. And then, he released one final build that had all of them in one move, with the 1-4 FNAF gameplay style. The main difference with this one is that it had a timer, making it stand out from the rest that came out before. After that, the game page went silent, rebranding itself from T-Jock Reborn to T-Jock Story Mode, and after a long while, almost 3 years later, the final game hit. The Joy of Creation Story Mode was finally finished and released. It quickly blew up and jumped onto the front page of the FNAF tag on GameJolt. The game, surprisingly, doesn't take place in the FNAF universe like most FNAF fan games. It rather takes place in the real world, putting you in the shoes of Scott Cawthon right after he finished Sister Location. You are placed into his household along with his family, and one night, a random person out of nowhere came to the house, with the only name the stranger could remember: Michael. And that's about the gist of it. It's a bit standard, but it's enough to make it work. It's better than here's unknown amount of cash, deal with our bullshit, have fun. Like most FNAF fan games. I guess you could say that this is one of the things that I do like about the game. The first level of the game, or what the game calls it, the bedroom, is a really bad tutorial level. Now before I describe why I think it's bad, I'll give out some positives for this level. Since this fan game is different than most fan games, I might as well do the same for this review. To start off, the setting. Now playing this for the first time, you'll know two things that always make this level interesting: the use of color/lighting, and the environment. The colors used for this room make the level feel ominous, making it seem like something could come out of nowhere, but you just don't know when it could happen. Now, the environment is a bit unique. Similar to FNAF 4, but you feel more like a toddler than a child, having a crib stop you from going around the room, limiting your space and where you can roam around. Some people can find this to be an effective way to get immersed with the game, but I don't know. It never stuck with me, but that's just something that doesn't work with me, and there's nothing wrong with that. And finally, the sound design. Unsurprisingly enough, this fan game does have some great sounds, from the creaks and the lightning that can be heard throughout the night, to the banging on the door and the rain hitting onto the roof. If this doesn't get you immersed into the level, then I don't know what would. Alright, enough with the praises, on to the negatives, and with the biggest problem with the level itself, is the difficulty. Most people quit on the game on this very first room, and I can't blame them. The game does a terrible job of explaining the mechanics. Your phone guy, Michael, explains how to defend yourself using what you have at hand. Now, the mechanics themselves aren't bad, it's just the way they are explained. That and with the level itself would make any first time players get overwhelmed with what you are meant to do, make them ignore the phone call and getting themselves killed. And knowing the context of the game, how would Nick, a toddler, know how to understand all this information? But that's probably me being nitpicky. Oh well. It has the typical style of gameplay as any fan game, which is alright. You have to close the curtain at your window for Freddy, turn off the lights and sit down in the crib when Bonnie knocks and opens the door, turn off the lights instead of Chica, and sleep for Foxy. Not bad mechanics, but badly explained. By the time the phone call is over, you will be like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Oh, and by the way, there's an insanity mechanic that doesn't get mentioned. Yeah, this doesn't get explained until you die. You have to keep the lights on so your sanity doesn't drain. It's a big trial and error until you finally understand what to do because the game doesn't explain it properly and thinks you already have seen every single video on T-Jock story mode to know what to do. Really fun stuff. Overall, this level serves as a bad tutorial on letting new players have interest with going forward with the game. So one will imagine it gets better from here. Right? Now for the second level, the living room. Now this level serves as a nice little nostalgia to the last demo that T-Jock Reborn made before shifting direction and changing name from Reborn to Story Mode. Anyway, in this level, you play as Scott's wife, defending herself in her living room by the same cause from the previous night. Your guy is, once again, Michael, telling you how to defend yourself. Now, to start with the positives. This room is a bit easier to handle compared to the bedroom, thank God. Secondly, there are some actual unique mechanics to play around here. Using the TV can temporarily and physically stop Freddy or Foxy from moving to your doorway, so you can take time and hide. There is also Bonnie that can come from behind you, and you have to check the keyhole to see when he comes. There's also Chica, but she's about as relevant as the full Baldi's release. Yeah, that game did come out by the way. Anyway, on to the bad. while the mechanics were explained better here this time around, it can lead to some rather unpleasant RNG moments. Even with the power to stall both Freddy and Foxy, it can mess you up if you do too much or you're not being careful. That and the fact that the game doesn't give you a hint that Chica might be present in the level. Like, it'll warn you about the other three, but Chica is the only one that requires a bit of trial and error. Even though she doesn't kill the player, the game doesn't warn nor give you an indication that Chica is coming for someone that has only started playing it. The only thing they'll know that's related to her is this sound. But that could be anything. And one more thing I want to talk about that doesn't sit well with me.
What's happening? Oh, guys, do I even need to say it? Red means scary, y'all.
Yeah, I don't find this to be scary. I know that some people can find it scary, but I find this an overrated satire that I've seen all the time in bad generic horror games. Now, I wouldn't mind if it looked like this. This, to me, makes it more eerie than what the current one is, but I guess you couldn't think of any other scary color than red. Oh well, it was a good, minor improvement from the previous room. While the ideas here are really good, it all comes down to RNG, and a lack of knowing what to come really hurts the game in more ways than one. That was actually fun. Anyway, on to the third level, the office, and this has to be one of, if not, the best level in the entire game, both from the design and gameplay standpoint. So with that said, let's get into the positives. For starters, the difficulty. The moment you start playing this level, you have a feeling that this isn't going to be the same like the others before. It rather takes its time to introduce the characters/enemies to the level besides telling you all of them at once, like the other levels before, slowly revealing them at a more natural progression. Second positive, the setting. Now this isn't the most mind-bending setting to be in, but it's rather fitting for what's going on in this level. So basically, you're playing as Scott, and the phone guy in this is Scott, but in the level from what Scott has been saying on the phone calls is that he's been stuck in this room for so long that he has lost time, presuming that he could have been here for at least a couple of days to a couple of weeks at best, making himself slowly lose track of everything around him, hoping that this time it will be different. Now for the final positive, the mechanics. The way that the mechanics work for this level is nothing but both fitting yet perfect. So the mechanics are this. You have 3 doors, one for the left, middle, and right. You need to check them to see if Freddy is there or not, but Foxy could also be there and can jump scare you, resulting you in a game over screen. So to prevent him from killing you, you'll need to check the cams on either side of the doors to make him go away. Seems a bit too easy, right? Well, to counteract this, doing the halfway mark for the level, Chica will slowly start coming out of the wall. To stop her, you need to find the sweet cupcakes that could be anywhere in the room, including outside the doors. What I like about this mechanic is that once you get all 3 cupcakes, the progression from her coming out of the wall is reduced to 0. Nixon could easily make it so the progression stays there and could easily mess you up in the end game, but no, he stuck with this, and this is what I think makes this room the most balanced out of all of them, and we're not done yet. Now for Bonnie's mechanic. If you stare at him in the cameras, he'll break them, preventing you from dealing with Foxy, but if he does break all 3 of them, he'll come to the office and jump scare you himself. Now this is something I was looking forward to, a fair and balanced level, one that guides you but doesn't show you how to do it, and a difficulty that comes at a more natural pace besides being artificial or shows everything at you all at once. Now, even though this is the best designed level of the game, there are still negatives I have to give, one of them being that some enemies can't appear at the same time. Now that isn't as bad as they are at different doors, but some, unaware happening, can appear at the same door.
Chica appeared again, staying on the wall.
Oh, that's Freddy.
Too. God, I don't know. It's just so.
No. Freddy was in there. I just looked at that room.
Even though it's rare, it can still happen. And finally, the timer. This level feels long, which is funny due to the fact this level is the shortest, which is 9 minutes, compared to the others that are 11 minutes.
Why do fan games always make nights much longer than they should be? I'll never know. Overall, this level serves as a great balance compared to the others that are harder than they should be, and going forward, I felt like this should have been the first level in the game besides the bedroom. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'm really excited about the upcoming 2 levels. They can't be as bad or worse as the bedroom. Okay, now we're in the free room section that everyone expected to blow their minds. The basement. Now I could just basically say the many problems I had with it and move on to the final room. But it wouldn't be a true review if I didn't at least give my positive opinions on this level as well. Anyway, let's talk about those positives with this level. Well, it doesn't have the FNAF gameplay format like the other levels do, switching it to be more of a Slenderman style gameplay mixed with another popular horror game style. For the second positive would be the following. These guys. Who knew you could actually make endos an actual threat besides making them a joke? What? And that's all the positives I'll say for this level. Now for the negatives, and this is the main problem I have with the level, just how long and repetitive the level is. But what do you expect? FNAF has always been repetitive. You are correct, but that works in its favor, since the original game wasn't trying to be anything over the top or serious. It was rather a simple arcade-like game that came out of nowhere, and that works with it since the gameplay is something similar that you would play at an arcade game, quick and simple, seeing how long you'll last against them. But with this, if you die during one of the final stages of the level, which keep in mind that if you are new to the game / level, you're going to restart all the way back from the beginning, which is always time consuming if you don't know what you are doing, which leads me into the second negative / problem with the level, is that this is the most trial and error level of the game, meaning you have to play this the right way or you'll lose. Here's a good example. In the second stage, you have to collect 4 items, the top hat, the guitar, the cupcake, and the hook, and put them in the furnace to move on to the next stage. Sounds simple and easy enough to do. However, if you are new to this level, the amount of times you'll die to this stage will be absurd. Then again, the game does a poor job on telling the player what to do and what to be cautious of. Oh, and it doesn't end there. This level also has everyone's favorite monster trope of, don't stop looking at the monster. You know, that one gimmick that totally hasn't overstayed its welcome. Oh well, this level was probably what everyone would have expected story mode to be. But I'm glad that it's here only one time, because I doubt anyone would have been excited to play this over and over again. Now for the final room, a level even more terribly designed than the bedroom, and many people saying in both fear and pure hatred. The attic.
The attic?
The attic.
The attic. What's wrong with it?
Glad you asked. But before that, I still have to give out some positives. First, the level idea. The fact that the entire house is burning down while you're playing this level is a really neat concept. The second positive is, that's literally it. Wow, that was short. Let's move on. Now for the negatives, and oh boy, there's way more problems with this than the bedroom, and that's saying something. So let's begin. For stars, you get no tip or guide to tell you what to do when you're starting to play for the first time. You need to You got all that? Okay, I'll say it again. For stars, you get no tip or guide to tell you what to do when you're starting to play for the first time, meaning you have to die just so you can get something or anything to tell you what to do for this level, which is a bad design to add to your game, making the players wonder, is this really worth it? Probably not. So what are the mechanics for this level / room? Well, for stars, you're going up against 4 to 6 animatronics, then being the endos from the basement, going for it, and lastly, the Android version of T-Jock, Creation. You have 2 different camera views, one for the attic and one for the rooms. Next, you can do a flash that will stop Creation from going forward. Same thing you gotta do for going Freddy. Oh, remember that attic cam view? Yeah, you need to keep an eye on it cause that's where the end nodes from the basement are at, and can charge towards either the left or right doors behind you. For the flash mechanic, you gotta, again, use it on creation to either push him back or slow him down, and you gotta do it on to go away at least 10 times, and he will randomly be somewhere on the cams or either behind you, which, if you stare at him while looking behind you for a certain amount of time, you get a game over screen. And finally, once you do beat the level, what happens afterwards is that you die, meaning you put all that time and effort into beating the level into complete waste. Now do you got all that? Good. Oh well, this level isn't the cherry on top that it deserves for the final level, and even though it's not heavily trial and error like the basement, it still comes off as annoyingly repetitive like the basement. Finally, after beating all those levels, you get the extras. And you got your usual characters, behind the scenes on the game development, newspaper that you garner throughout the game. Yeah, that's also a thing. And finally, something you could say is replay value in the game. The challenges. There's only 3 challenges, and do you know what you get for beating them? A star. A small, single, golden star. No rewards, no cheats, nothing like that. Talk about anticlimactic. Now here's something I would have done if I were the one making the rewards for beating these challenges. For beating the bedroom blind challenge, players should be given the indicator cheat. For the basement 1 challenge, they should have the faster timer cheat. And finally for the survival challenge, they should be given the immortal cheat. It's simple but effective. I don't know if Nixon could have added a cheat-like system into the game, but if he did, it would give the game a lot more replay value than it currently does in its playable state. Overall, T-Jock isn't the peak of fan games that everyone talks about. It's a graphics over gameplay game that has questionable at best game design, that has negatively changed the entire fan game aspect, and shifted away from a classic format into a best 3D graphics and freemode will make it good. That and the game was falsely advertised. What I mean by this is that everyone who was waiting for this game was expecting it to be similar to the freemode demos, and yet in the final game we got one, technically 2 to 3 levels, that has some sort of freemode element in it. That and the fact with all these negatives, there's a reason why people don't replay it again. It lacks the replay value that the classic FNAF and fan games do have, due to the difficulty and questionable design flaw and mechanics. And finally, the fact that you also die at the end makes your action all in vain, and you could have just died earlier and it wouldn't make a difference. That and the difficulty when playing it for the first time doesn't really help the game out with trying to make new players want to play more. If the dev would have switched the levels from this to this would easily welcome newcomers to the game and would easily make the difficulty more reasonable than questionable as of right now. All in all, an overrated fan game that, if crafted more carefully, would have turned into one of the best experiences you could get in a fan game. Oh sweet. Ah, fuck.